Welcome to another episode of Trading the Price, a video series on trade setup for stocks, futures, and ETF. Today is July 9, 2017. In this video, we're going to break it into two parts. The first part is on the market, and then the second part is on some of the individual stock. So let's first take a look at the market here. Here is the chart of all the major market indexes. The first one here, we see the Dow Jones Industrial, then the S&P 500, and the New York Stock Exchange Composite. You can see that back in mid-June, they all made a new all-time closing high. Then on Friday, the Dow Jones Transportation closed at a new all-time high. And you see the NASDAQ 100 and the NASDAQ Composite down here been lagging all the other indexes, and even the Russell closed at a new all-time high on July the 3rd. Okay, so you can see the rotation is taking place. Went from the high-flying tech sector to the more the value blue chip. Okay, and then we also got the small cap coming back in, and now we have the transportation. So with these behavior, I would expect that the market still got a little bit higher ground to cover. So let's go and take a look at the other chart here. If we take a look at the Dow Industrial candlestick chart and the Dow Jones Transportation, you can see the Dow Jones Transportation been basing, but for quite a while. Right? Been basing in this area here, for almost 7 or 8 months, and it finally broke through here in this space, while the the Dow basically been kind of trending higher, and you can see right here it's kind of consolidating a little bit here. So I would imagine that we'll probably see the Dow maybe make another assault at this high here and try to break out and into a new high territory. So that's one thing that I will be watching in the coming days. And if we just take a look at the closing chart, on the industrial and the transportation, you can see that it's really been kind of basing on the transportation and kind of been trending higher on the industrial. Okay? And then looking at the S&P 500, you can see the S&P 500, even though it's kind of pulled back a little bit, but still it's still in pretty good shape here. Looking at the overall picture, although it's coming down to this trend line here, so we kind of watch it to see what it break below this trend line. But if you look at the advanced decline, right, the advanced decline line here is still pretty pretty strong. Still kind of moving up, trending up, and it is behaving normally. You see this this peak here. And over here, whoops, let me clean this up here. See this right here. So you can see right now, right, the advanced decline made a new high, while the S&P did not. So that kind of tell you there's some more internal market strength there. I mean, at least the breadth is not deteriorating. Right, and look at the VIX. Right, the VIX kind of came up on Thursday and then went right back down on Friday. And you look at this this run up here. Remember what I said in the past is that the VIX is usually kind of tell us how much fear is in the market, and when we look at these peak on the VIX, it kind of gives us an indication that the end of the correction or the sell-off might be near, if it's not at its end. I don't put too much credence on looking at these lower level to say that the market is ready to fall, because there's no indication that it could give us that the market is about to fall. Right? The only indication the VIX is good at is to give us an early warning that the bottom or the end of that pullback or correction, or whatever you might want to call it, a sell-off, is near. Right? and that's the only useful thing that I could extract from it. Even people drawing trend line and that kind of stuff is kind of ridiculous, right? These things doesn't trade on a trend. You might, I mean, yeah, if we draw lines and moving average, eventually, it's going to hit some inflection point, but anyway, it's just kind of, it's just my 2 cents of how I use the VIX, and basically looking at the peak for, and then look at, try to use the peak of the VIX and in conjunction with the, with the price action, support, resistance area and that kind of stuff to kind of get a gauge. Is this the could be near the end of the correction or things like that. So anyway, that's basically the overall picture here. Let's take a look at the individual index, and let me switch over. We're going to take a look at the E-mini first. Let's see if I could flip that over here, and we're basically looking at the E-mini S&P 500 future, right? And let's go and look at the monthly chart. As you can see, they're still within this price channel here. Got a little bit of a hammer or hangman, if you want to call it, sort of like an NR7 on the monthly. So the month is still early. It is within the range of previous month. So we're seeing a little bit of an inside month. And then on the weekly, you can see on the weekly here, we also have a inside week, right? So, and just close slightly up from previous week, so nothing to write home about. And then on the daily here, we see this trend line here. Remember the S&P 500, so it's kind of came down and tested this level here, right? This support level. Okay, these pivot. So it could come back down and test this again to see what it break below this trend line. If it break below this trend line, they're probably looking at this 50 here, 23, 51, 50, this particular level somewhere down there. But if it come up and bounce off this trend line, then I'll probably be looking at a possibility of moving back up toward a high. Okay, so because there are still room up here for the index to move before it get to that upper channel. Okay? And if we take a look at the S&P cash index, okay, so anyway, let's go and take a look at the monthly. Right, you see the monthly is also inside month, still within this channel. And on the weekly, again, we got an inside week, just close up slightly. And then on the daily, we see on the daily chart here, Accenture also draw a little bit of a price channel here. So we could be, making its way back up here to the upper channel. And again, if we could take out this this peak here, right, this peak, then the all-time high, could be the next level or could be in play. Okay, but again, if it come down, and we're basically looking for a possible retest of the 2403.59, okay, and maybe looking for a bounce back up. Right, that's one scenario. Or it come down and break below it, come back, try to reclaim it, and then come back down. Then we're basically looking at this 2352.72 as a possibility of the next level. So, and then on the upside is, right, the upside is, getting above this 2446.20, right, and then come back and then test that and break it above the, the all-time high here. So we're basically looking at this, this area for it to try to break that and move it to a higher ground. So that's the cash index. And if we look at the ETF, the spider, here's the S&P. Again, just take a quick glance at the monthly and the weekly. You can see the monthly, well within the last month's range. Okay, although we got a little bit of a hammer and here inside week, right? Inside week here, okay. And again, I drew a price channel on the SPY, right? So if it come down, test this trend line we want to see would it be able to bounce back up. Okay, then the other scenario is that break that trend line, come up, and if it can't reclaim it, then we're basically looking for this thing to come down to 235.43. So the 240.64 or that 240 level would be a key level to watch also. Okay, this level here. Okay, and if we could move back up, then we're basically looking at this, somewhere around the 242, break about the 242, and get up to the 244. Okay, and we want to see would it be able to get up to 244. Then if it break this channel, then there's a good chance that it could go up to this high here at 245.01. Again, 250 basically up here at the upper channel is somewhere around 250. So that could be in play if we get up to a new high. So might not be for the coming week, but we just have to keep an eye on it. I think there is still some momentum within the market. Remember we looked at it earlier. Some of the internal breadth is still pretty good, looking pretty good. It's still fairly strong there. Okay, so let's look at the NQ. That's the Nasdaq 100 E-mini future, and let's take a look at the monthly chart here. Okay, and you can see that it is not doing too well here. It is still trying to pull back here, and this candle here, although it did close with a shooting star with a green body, if we add these 2 months together, but we got this little bit of a hangman candle coming down, and on the weekly you can see that there's some pretty big ranges, although last week we got a little bit of a bounce off of these levels here. Right, if we take a look at it, got a little bounce when it came down to this 55.72 50 area. Again, we basically have a little bit of a price channel, and if we could move up, and probably will encounter some resistance here somewhere around near the 5800. Try to reclaim this this trend line here. Okay, so we're gonna keep an eye on to see would it be able to break this channel. If it can't break this channel, then we'll probably be looking at back down to try to test this trend line coming back down, and to this 54.92 1/4. Okay, but if it could break this channel, then again, we need to see would it be able to break about the 58.52. If that is broken, then the all-time high is back in play. Okay, otherwise we'll look at it to see would it be consolidating. The other area is that it could come up to the channel and then come back down here and then hold this support, right? Then it come up and break the channel again. So essentially we basically set up a higher low and then higher high to come up and try to put in a new all-time high. Okay, so and if we take a look at the cash index, again, if we just go and take a look at the monthly, so well within the channel, it's still got a little bit more upside to go, right? Although it might see a little bit pull back before it move back up again. But right now, on the weekly, again, it's still kind of trying to find itself here. And I know there's people is looking at this head and shoulder pattern, thinking this is the head and shoulder pattern, and looking at this breakdown. So that's one way to look at it. But there's also the other way is looking at this as a declining price channel. Okay, so anyway, but again, there's this support here, 55.6847. Okay, so if it come down and we get a bounce, then we could see maybe it could come back up. Okay, so again, let's put in this channel here, right? And see if we could get something set up, right? So here's the channel, right? Okay, and so what basically looking at is to see can it come up and so try to reclaim this trend line here, right? And if we can't break this channel, come back up to this new all-time high, then we basically are looking for it to maybe pull back into this area here and test this trend line in this area, this 55.68, to see would it be able to get a bounce back up. Right? And again, just like the NQ, and maybe it come up, found resistance, back off, and then we found support here, and then break two. Right? So basically get a low, a higher low, higher high, and then move it back above and into the all-time high, and possibly get up to this channel high. Okay, so that's the NASDAQ. And let's go look at the Russell. Take a look at the monthly. The Russell also, you could look at that as a channel, and it is still within the channel here. And you can see it's on the upper part of the previous monthly range. So it's basically it's continuing its move to a higher level. And you can see on the weekly, it seems to be doing a little bit of a consolidation here in the last 4 weeks or so. Okay, so if we take a look at here, so you see this consolidation band. But the other thing is to notice is this price channel. Right, so essentially it's been pretty much kind of slowly climbing to this, price channel here. Okay, so we're basically looking for this thing to break out this this resistance here. Right, somewhere around these the closing high, 1426.68, and get above this high, and possibly look forward to break this channel and try to work yourself into this big channel upper level here. Okay, so that's basically what I'm looking at on the Russell 2000. And if we take a look at the IWM, okay, and here's IWM. So on the daily, you can see the IWM. Again, essentially this price channel here, we're basically looking for this thing to come back up, right? Break this, this resistance here, and maybe test the channel, right? And maybe we get a little break. So essentially, what we want to see is would it be able to, come up, right? Come up, break the channel, and test and move up to this upper band. Or would it basically come down to retest this low, this lower level again before it bounces back up? Okay, so those are the scenario that we might want to keep an eye on right now. Okay, I'm not sure, did I go to the Q? All right, so let's go and take a look at the QQQ, because I'm not sure I have looked at the Q. We'll basically look at the NASDAQ 100. Right, so looking at the Q, remember the price channel, we have this price channel here. So again, essentially we're looking for this thing to see can it get back up above this channel and into this pivot high, right? Break that pivot high and get back into the closing high area, okay? And essentially got a little wedge here, right? But remember we have this this channel. Right, this big channel there on the on the monthly or the weekly. Right, so there's still a little bit more room to come up. Right, although it did tag the upper channel. Right, so it could come back down. But the thing is, we kind of have to watch it on this channel here. If it break this channel, come down to this trend line, essentially it could come down, break this trend line, then it could come down and fill this gap here. You see this little gap here. All right, so let me highlight that. Okay, so we got a gap here that need to be filled at 132.88. So again, essentially we're looking at the possibility of maybe come up to this channel and come down, right? Break this trend line, get the gap fill, right? And then test it here and maybe go lower. Okay, all right, so that's one possibility. Or it could essentially just come up, break and then go back up. Right, so basically come up to this resistance, right, and then come back up and maybe possibly get up to this this all-time high, right? So whether it's going to break this trend line or not, that's something to be determined when the time comes. Okay, so that's basically, I guess, all the indexes and the ETF. Let's take a look at the transportation the transportation, remember we looked at the transportation earlier, okay? So you can see that the transportation been, kind of, if you look at this little bit of a pullback channel here, and it broke this channel and it came up, and once it break this consolidation area, right, then it just moved up to a new high territory. So I think the transportation probably will have more upside, so we just have to keep an eye on that. And also the other thing is the New York Stock Exchange Composite. Let's take a look at that. So you can see that it's also consolidating here, and essentially still on a rising trend unless it get down to this 11,635 and into the 11,554. Okay, that's basically down here at the trend line level. Okay, I think here we probably see a little bit of a consolidation, could come down and test this and then get a bounce back up. So we just have to keep an eye on that, on the level of coming down to this trend line, or find some support here, and move back up, because it did got a little bounce here, right? So if we put this here, because it did found a little bounce off of this level, okay. Right, so right now I got a little bit of an inside bar here, so we'll see, is it going to break below the 11,678, or going to break above this inside bar and then move up to the previous high here. So here's the closing high, all-time closing high, 11,833.34. So that's the level to watch on the upside, and on the downside is 11,678.90. Okay, so if this break below that, then we pay attention to these lower level, and possibly get down to this 11,554, basically pretty much at the the trend line here. If I extend this, right? So okay, so basically that's the look at the market, and in the next segment we'll take a look at the some of the individual stock. Okay, in this segment, we're going to take a look at some of the stock. And what we're going to be looking at is Apple, Facebook, Alibaba, Tesla. Those are the ones that we've been looking at in the last few sessions. And we're also going to follow up on Under Armour, Snap, and NVDA. I noticed that their last video that was referring to NVDA, I failed to cover that. So I apologize for that if I'm kind of disappointed some of the people that's looking for the NVIDIA analysis. So anyway, we're going to take a look at the NVIDIA, and I thought we also take a look at a few more of these momentum stocks such as Netflix, Google, Amazon. And then we're going to take a look at Goldman Sachs because the financial is coming up to report earnings in a week or so. I think in less than 2 weeks. So that might worth a look at Goldman Sachs. I think there's some interesting price action there. So anyway, let's start off with Apple. And here, looking at Apple here, let's go and just kind of scan to the monthly. So you can see that we have this tweezer top here on the monthly candle, and that basically equivalent to a more of a shooting star. And now we got a little bit of an NR7 type of hammer or hangman. So basically the month is still early, so it's nothing really there to observe on the monthly basis. But if you look at the weekly here, it seems to be sort of basing here in the last 4 weeks. If we close up on the daily, you can see that this base here on the daily. And essentially, right now we're looking for this thing to hold this 142.51. Okay, if it doesn't hold, then essentially I'm looking for this thing to come back down to this level down here at this 137.44. And also note I have a Fibonacci retracement here, and if it pull back to this 137-ish area, that's basically a 618 pullback, right? Pull back to that 618. Okay, so that's a possibility. We could see a little bit bounce up here to try to reclaim this this trend line here, and see would it be able to actually break through this consolidation area and then move up to this level, testing this level here, and come back. So depending on how it come back, if it break above this, this level here, would it be able to find support, on this 147.5 and break again? If it does that, then it could be making its way back up to these pivot high, right? But if it can't do that, let's say it come up and fail to break and come back down, then we're basically looking for this break of 142.5 and coming down to this 137.44. So that would be the level that I will be keeping an eye on. So essentially we're looking at something like this, right? Coming down, see here's this trend line. So basically looking maybe something like this, right? And see would it be able to either break above, okay, or come down and break below, right? So that's basically Apple. And here's Facebook. Okay, looking at Facebook here. Let's go to the monthly. You see these three sort of a doji candle, right? And it is getting close to the upper trend line here on this price channel. I did redraw the trend line a little bit and establish a price channel instead of just a trend line coming up in the previous videos, and have this thing actually went above the trend line. So I'm giving this thing the benefit of the doubt that there might be still some more upside. Okay, so if we take a look at the weekly, so you can see that it could be consolidating here, and it could make another push up to this upper trend line. Okay, and if we take a look at on the daily, again, here's the price channel, and right now it seems to be finding support on this particular trend line here, and we got a little bit of a bounce here. If you notice that got a little bounce off of this supporting trend line, and also the other thing is note there is a sort of an inside coil here, right? Okay, so now it's kind of trying to come up on this pivot, right? Basically, you got this this little pivot set up here. So there might be some possibility here, right? Just some trade location. Okay, so anywhere above this this area, there might be a good swing long type of a possibility, and maybe anything below here, then we get the heck out of there. Right, take our losses and whatever. So, but make sure that you do have a viable risk management plan to play these trade location. But do your due diligence and make sure that you understand what's involved. The maximum upside that I'm looking at is if it get up to this upper price channel, it could be potentially maximum 2 based on this particular type of trade location play, and so depend on what your risk management is plan on, and the thing is right now the market is pretty jittery, and so exercise caution, and so that's basically Facebook. And here's the Alibaba, and looking at the Alibaba monthly, it seems like it's coming up to fill in this this wick over here, right? And right now it seems to be still working on maybe a one-time framing up on a weekly, although we have a weekly inside week candle from last week, and it's basically a spinning top type of a candle there. Okay, and looking at it, you see I have a couple Fibonacci set up. Right, one is this retracement here. Okay, all right. So basically, right now, looking at this thing coming up, we trace 141. All right. So if we take a look at that, if we go up to 1618, then essentially it'd be somewhere around 159 area. Okay. Then the other one is this retracement here. I put this on a pullback, and you can see that it pulled back near that 50% between the 50 and the 618, and you've got a nice bounce. And right now it's getting up to that extension of 1618, Okay, so if we taking this major move here to be 100% major move, then we're still looking at that 160.49. So that's pretty much in confluence with this 1618 at 150.59 or so. So basically, that's one possibility. If we go and take a look at the daily, if we could break this little bit of a triangle here, okay, and get above the all-time high, then we probably could see it maybe work itself up, to these higher number, to that Fibonacci extension level at that 159, 160 area. Okay, so you can also note that there is a bunch of inside candle here. So we got it working on a sort of like an inside coil. Okay, you see this little pullback, and then we got to pivot up. Right, hit this upper bound here. We essentially established this as a potential resistance for the next bounce. So right now, basically looking at this inside coil, if break above this inside, this engulfing candle, then there's a good chance that it might be trying to make it up to this all-time high. And here, looking at Tesla, let's go to the monthly. Okay, Tesla is really ugly. Remember, we were saying that the monthly candle got a long wick here. Okay, and we're thinking that probably we'll see some weakness, and indeed, weakness came as soon as the month began. And you can see on the weekly candle, it just basically took a dive here last week. And right now on the daily, we're basically looking at maybe we get a little bounce here. Okay. Because Elon Musk may be going to melt this Model 3 first production Model 3 rolling off the production line news, and he's probably going to melt that for all he can, and probably will push this thing back up and get a little bounce here. Right now, sitting at this 618 on this extension retracement. Okay, so we could see a little bounce here, maybe fill this gap. Right, maybe bounce up to this 327.25, and then come back down, and possibly get back and then get back to this zone here, this 618 and the 50 area, 50% area, and see, can it consolidate a little bit, and then see what the price action is. Is it going to continue to go down, or get a little bounce and maybe work itself back up? But I think the trend is most likely it's down, but doesn't mean that it's just going to go straight down, because we could see some bounce here. Right, this is one possibility. Right, it could come up, find a resistance up here on this pivot, move back down here, essentially fill the gap, and then find support, and then move up, and then fill this gap. Okay, or the other way is other scenario is maybe fill this gap, right, and move up. Okay. And then come back down, right? Okay, and then it just come down and break this pivot, right? So that's one possibility, also. Okay, so that's Tesla, and let me see. We also have NVDA. I want to make sure I get NVDA in there, so don't want to forget NVDA this time. Okay, let's take a look at the monthly on the NVIDIA. This is one ugly candle, right? And this is like a blow-off candle here on a monthly basis. And then now we got this little hammer here. Maybe try to bounce a little bit, okay? And then on a weekly, you can see, got a little bit of a bounce on here after this big blowout candle. And then we got another blowout candle. So there's a lot of long got trapped up here. Okay, there's still a lot of long, and then just got sold off. And last week, found a little bit of a support and got a little bounce here. So, and then looking at the daily, right, we see that found a little support somewhere around this 618 on this retracement, okay, at the 140 area. Right, so right now we probably see maybe it might come up and try to get up to this trend line here. Right, and then see would it be able to find some support and break this trend line. Then maybe we see it try to get back up here and let those trap long out. But with those longs trap up there, I don't think it will go back up that quickly. But you never know. So, but basically the other scenario is get onto its trend line, right, and then come down and and do this, okay? Because this gap, here's the gap here, most likely gonna try to get filled, okay? And the other thing is, so basically it's gonna come down and fill this gap, and that's what I'm looking at right now, okay? And then probably work itself down to this particular trend line area here. So it's basically another gap here that could get filled as well. Okay, so that's NVDA, and the other one. Let's go and take a look at Netflix. And here's Netflix. You can see. Well, let's do the monthly. We'll take a look at the monthly. You see this little bit of a engulfing candle here, and this right here is like a shooting star also, right? These two candles, we add this up. So it's not looking good on a monthly basis, although we got a bounce last week, right? On this, a little bit of hammer doji here, okay? And then looking at the daily. I do have a little bit of a price channel, right? This price channel here, okay? So it's coming up, and it broke this price channel and came down and filled this gap, and then we got a bounce, right? Got a bounce and bounce back up. So maybe it will try to reclaim this trend line and try to get back into the price channel, or also hitting the resistance of this trend line here. Then I see it come back down. Okay, to this 137.03, essentially getting down to this trend line. Otherwise, if it could, get up and break this trend line, reclaim this particular trend line, the channel, get back into the channel, and find support there, then we probably would have to see, can it get above this pivot here? If we could get above this pivot, then the all-time high will be back in play. Okay, so that's basically Netflix. And here, looking at Google, let's go to the monthly. All right, okay, Google, we have a price channel. Also, again, tweezer top. Essentially, that's a combination equivalent to a shooting star. And then now we got this, basically a little bit of a hammer. Okay, and on the weekly, I see that this, kind of got a little bit of a support last week and got a little bit of a bounce there, okay? And you see that it came down into the gap area, and then we got a little bounce back up to this pivot here. Okay, so we're going to see would it be able to work itself higher, because there's a little gap here that could also be waiting to get filled. So maybe if there is some sort of a rally on the Nasdaq, maybe Google will come up and fill this gap. Who knows, right? But the thing is, I'm looking at this essentially, if you could look at this as a little bit of a head and shoulder pattern, right? So it broke this, and now we're basically just kind of testing the baseline. So doing a little bit of a shake and bake, right? And then if it come back down, then essentially we're looking for this gap to get filled. And here's 1618 on this, extension, and that would be somewhere around 893. Okay, that's one scenario on the downside, right? Otherwise, then we're basically looking for this thing to maybe move up and fill this gap, and then see would it be able to break this trend line here, and then maybe come back down, right? And then move down here to fill this gap. Okay, so that's basically Google. And here's the Amazon. Let's take a look at the monthly on Amazon. I do have a steep channel on Amazon on the monthly, but it's all depend, how much I open it up. So essentially, you can see that we got a little bit of a sort of engulfing candle last month, right? And right now we got an inside month candle there, and although we get some wild swing on Amazon, but the chart itself doesn't look that bad yet. No, that I say yet. Okay, so who knows? I mean, anything is possible, right? So let's not get carried away on the bearish side just because the Nasdaq has been selling off in the last week or so, right? So anyway, so looking at the Amazon, it kind of bumped up to this, upper channel, and then start pulling back although this right here, I'm not sure is a fat finger or what, right? But then it kind of bounced back, and right now it seems to be holding this, this trend line here. Okay, so we want to see here's a little bit of an inside bar here, and then it kind of got a pop breakout from the inside bar. So who knows, right? There might be a little bit of a bounce here that it could come up to this level, right, before it come back and retest this trend line, and maybe break that trend line and kind of retest these these values down here, and basically work itself down to this trend line to somewhere around this 927, and retest this pivot low here, right, to see would it be able to find some support, because it could be working itself down to this lower band. But the other thing is, if it be able to break, right, this trend line and work itself back up to the all-time high, then certainly there's a possibility of getting back up to this upper trend line, and that will be put it back up at somewhere around 1050, 1040-ish, 1050. Okay, so that's Amazon. And let's go and check out Snap. Okay, on Snap here, let's go back to the monthly. Not much happening. Still working to try to stay above that $17 the IPO issuing price. Okay, weekly sort of it's kind of got below this this low here, last week's low. So we have to keep an eye on it to see is it going to come down and test this IPO low of 17. Okay, so on the daily, it's still coiling inside of this engulfing candle. Okay, so we still got an inside bar coil. All right, so we're going to see would it be able to stay above that 17 and try to push up and break this 1834, essentially get above this. Okay, so that's basically what I'm watching. If it break that 17, I'm looking for this trend line down here, this channel, this lower channel trend line get tested. Okay, these level, and if it break that, then all bets are off on Snap. Okay, so that's basically Snap, and the other one is Under Armour. So let's take a look at Under Armour here. Again, we're still waiting, for this thing to break about that this trading band. And if we take a closer look over here, you see that it did come up and book this pivot high. So essentially, that was one of the trade location, the possibility of going long there, and it came up, try to break that this band here. Again, it got rejected, and then did a couple more time and got rejected big time on Thursday. So right now it's trying to hold this this trend line here. So if we can get back up above that trend line, there's a good possibility that it could be coming down and test this pivot low. So, and that might be if it come down, it could be taken out, and it could come back, retest the lower band here. So just have to watch that, see would it be able to bounce back and get back above this this pivot high here. Essentially, we need to get back, and maybe this is a little bit of a shakeout. Get rid of everybody before we start to make a run at it. Okay, and come up to fill this gap here. Okay, so then the last one is essentially Goldman Sachs. Okay, we're going to take a look at Goldman Sachs here. So here's Goldman Sachs, and let's go and take a look at the monthly. Okay, on Goldman Sachs, we're seeing that here's the got an extension here. Also got a little bit of a trend line here on the monthly. Got the Fibonacci extension. Seems to be pulling back to that 618, right? And then we got a little bit of a bounce. And if we look at the weekly, you get a little bit of a close-up look, right? So you can see that here it come up, came back, pulled back to the 618, and sort of consolidating here for a while. And right now, you can see that there's been a little bit of a, declining price channel here, and it just kind of broke through it recently and been testing that trend line, the upper declining trend line here. And also we got some resistance up here, All right, some resistance at this these level near that 230 area. Okay, between the 230 and 227. All right, so been testing that. So basically looking to see would it be able to break above that. You see there's a little bit of an inside candle and then try to break, but it wasn't able to close above it, and it pulled back. So we'll see will this thing be able to break and then make a move back up to this 255 area. Okay, so right now I'm basically looking at to see would it be able to break above this this resistance and then come back for the retest and go. Right? Okay, so that's one scenario, or is it going to be basically work itself back down to this trading band, or possibly this price channel, and come down to this area here, this 618 and 50% retracement, okay, before it trying to make another run. Okay, so be warned that the earning is coming up in less than 2 weeks. Right, the earning is 7:18 before the market open. So so this thing could run up before earning, or basically could sell off into earning and then run it back up. So this trading band is interesting. So keep an eye on that. Don't chase the breakout, right? Because if it come up, there's a good chance that they're going to pull back to some level and test for support before it make another run. Okay, so and if it pull back to this trading band, to the low band here, then definitely that would be a good trade location to look for any kind of setup for bounce back up. Okay, you can see right here, you see this inside coil with some pivot, which made a really nice setup, to play off the bounce off of these low and come back up to the upper band, or the price channel. Okay, so that's basically this week's review, and hopefully you find this video informative, and please click on the like, the thumbs up, and if you are not a subscriber to my YouTube video channel, please subscribe, and thank you for watching, and good luck on your trading.